I'm going to have to disagree with Ms. Patterson. I think the taste of heirloom tomatoes, for the most, I mean, you run into a not great one every now and then, just like the others, but Cherokee, what?
Let's see, what did he call them? Carbon purple.
Carbon
C-A-R-B-O-N. Carbon purple tomatoes.
Well, whatever they were
mighty good.
Darn good.
And here's an interesting tidbit to throw out there. And when ripening tomatoes, David suggested that we cover this. Do you store them in the windowsill with stem side up or stem side down to finish ripening in the window?
I have no idea, but this is the kind of thing Deep South dining is all about.
That's why we're here. Stem side down helps ripen to keep the air from entering through the stem. Stem side up is good because the shoulders of the tomato are heaviest and they create too much pressure. So that's a pro and con of stem side up, stem side down. We'll let our listeners debate that one.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference for the finishing of the ripening?
I'm going to run home and turn my tomatoes all upside down because if David Patterson says to turn them stem side down, that's what I'm going to do.
You're going to give it a try.
Because that guy sure knows how to grow a tomato.
That's a fact. Now, there's been a lot of yakking about Jackson being in the top 3 for the local palate.com publication as a culinary destination in the South. Have you followed that?
I have, but, that word's been out on the street for a few years now because we are developing into a great culinary city.
And then there's the Clarion Ledger-sponsored Best Barbecue in Jackson. Have you followed that at all?
I have indeed. I don't know. We're Pig and
It was
Pint,
down to Pig and
Pint
Pint
Sacred Ground.
and Sacred Ground. Marissa, did we have a winner yet?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
I think they're in like the final rounds, though.
And
well,
finally,
both of them are winners, so
Of course.
maybe they should just leave it there.
And finally, Oxford was back in the news. I think Newsweek magazine picked Oxford as the top culinary destination in the, I don't know, the South.
We're doing great things in Mississippi. That's all I know.
There you go.
Yeah, and I'm so happy. We have one of the coolest things in Oxford on the radio show
We
today.
do. That's right.
Indeed.
We've got Cecil Price Walden coming up here.
Well, Malcolm, I took a little road trip this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, I did. I went up to Cleveland, Mississippi, and we got the band back together, and Tricia Walker, one of our favorite friends and musicians, actually had a session with Alan Hammonds, Robert Terrell, Victor Bias, and me, recalling the death of B.B. King, which was 10 years ago. So we did an oral history, and
Wow,
that's
great.
in the can. It was a lot of fun. But to relate it to the food world, I had to go and stop by Lenya, which was named one of the 100 best pizza places in the world.
In the world.
It was entirely fabulous, and I brought you
So
a
you
gift.
actually had this pizza?
I had 2 of these. I
Okay,
ordered
now.
2 for, and this.
Oh, look.
Yeah, I want you to hold it up on your end for the
Okay.
YouTubers. They had a bunch of them, but that spoke Malcolm to me.
Okay. Here it is.
Lenya, pizza and bagels.
Hey, and guess what? Sally Killebrew just discovered that we're on YouTube, so she's perhaps dialed
She hadn't
in.
seen us in a long time.
It's
so
been a
now-
while, but
Now she can.
she shared with me that she discovered us on YouTube, so that's great.
But Malcolm, this Lenya is so worth the drive, and I know people are driving from all over, but just watching the process, watching her roll out the dough, putting the pizzas in the oven, every day that they're open, she does a different pizza, and it was fabulous. People were literally lined up out the door.
That's right. That's a beautiful thing, and I'm so happy for them. They've done such great
Yeah,
work.
and they're only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I was lucky to be there on a Thursday.
A niche operation that has
Yes.
really hit it big. And thanks for the T-shirt. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that, Carol. I love a good black tee. All right, this is going to be a short segment because we have lots of company in the neighborhood this morning, and so we're going to take a quick break, and come back with Cecil Price Walden, also from Oxford, and talk to him about all of the great things that are going on in his world. The Grapevine Bakery. He's a musician, composer, and a culinarian. And a little secret inside story, he's from Boonville, so we'll talk about
Everybody's from Boonville.
We'll talk about that. So we'll take a real quick break. Be right back with Cecil Price Walden. More Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio.
The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, is the official companion podcast to the upcoming MPB original documentary, focusing on the life of Medgar Evers. The companion podcast, hosted by me, Rita Brent, will feature in-depth conversations, extended interviews, and exclusive archive footage not shown in the documentary. Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Welcome back to Deep South Dining here on MPB Think Radio. Welcome to the neighborhood. We're so glad you're here. Carol, how are you?
I'm great. I see that we're picking up another Boonville boy.
Well, that's the way it is. You know, so much talent coming out of the hospitality city. We're welcoming to the show Cecil Price Walden. Man, I've been chasing after you. I'm so glad you're here. How's it going?
I am so glad to be here. It's like being inside my radio on a Monday morning.
You know, the first time I heard about you, John T. Edge was, I think you were composing an original piece of music for the Southern Foodways Alliance. And John T. asked me if I knew you. And I said, no, I don't know him, but I sure know his people. The Walden family, legendary in Boonville. I guess it was Charles Walden, your uncle, whose wife Barbara... Grandfather, whose wife owned the Grapevine.
Yeah, my dad and my granddad owned Walden Appliance, and right next to it, my Grammy, Barbara Ann, owned the Grapevine, a gift shop, which is where I get my bakery name from.
And Charles was my science teacher at Boonville High School and my homeroom teacher as well. He was a beloved teacher at Boonville High School. And so I was speaking to your, I guess, great uncle, Jim Walden, recently. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Jim and
I think so.
Jim was my brother Hal's age. And they were great friends.
This is so Mississippi.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. I mean, who are your people?
Yeah.
And where are you from? Usually Boonville.
Usually. So tell us about yourself. Let's just assume a listener's never heard of you, doesn't know a bit about your work. I know you work both in music and in food. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I have lived in Oxford for 16 years now. I moved here for school in 2009 and loved it so much that I stayed around. So I came here for school, and my studies were kind of in how I live my life, which is music, Southern studies, and gender studies. Those are the things I think about all the time. So that's pretty much what my work has ended up being. I'm a composer and a pianist, so I write music and play music. And I have also, in a great surprise to me, become a baker. So as a day job, I'm the baker at St. Leo Restaurant here in Oxford on the Square, if anybody's familiar with them.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Big time.
then on nights and weekends, I run my own cottage bakery called the Grapevine Bread Company out of my house here.
Well, I saw, I think it was a king cake that you posted and some sourdough on your, I don't know how I stumbled into this, but I found I found your bread before I found you.
Your bread is absolutely gorgeous.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the journey to being a baker was not really what I intended. I first got familiarized with baking bread in 2020. I lived at the time by myself here in Oxford, and I didn't want to do that during lockdown. So I moved in with my best friend Betsy down there in Jackson, and her roommate Robbie, which meant that I moved into what was then Sunflower Oven before they got a retail location. So I saw firsthand all the baking and everything, and that's where I got my start. And then for several years, I was a bartender at St. Leo. But actually 14 months ago today, I started a recovery journey and got sober. And I needed something different to do. And so I turned to bread. And that has been my lifeline through this process.
That's great. Well, you and I are brothers in that journey, 20 years for yours truly. But glad to hear that that's working for you, my friend.
Absolutely. And it's been so much fun. I started just baking more and giving it to people, and then it started selling. And then I had Christmas orders, almost more than I could handle. And then I made king cakes in the spring, and that turned into a whole thing. And so now I am officially running as the Grapevine Bread Company to do all of that as an official business, which has been, I'm really thankful to all of my friends and the community here in Oxford, which is so great, that has totally accepted me and all the fun stuff I'm trying to do.
That's great.
Well, I love it that you are using your grandmother's name for your bakery, the name of her store. I mean, it's so great to keep that family tradition alive. I know she would be proud.
Oh, yeah, she is proud. We're on the hunt for a whole bunch of old grapevine wreaths that everybody has told me they have in an attic somewhere. So we'll see how many of those come out. But growing up as a little kid in a gift shop, it was just, for me, it was like magic. Because on the other side was the appliance store, and that's not quite magical. But on the other end was all these flowers and balloons and trinkets, stuff like that. So it was fun to have gifts and beautiful things around all the time. So that's really what I try to hold on to, is that every day is something of a gift.
Yeah, it's like growing up in a Mardi Gras shop or something. I remember the Grapevine. I remember going to the Grapevine and the wreaths and all of that. Quite a cool spot. Quite a cool spot. Tell us about your
tell
SFA.
Us about your the product you're working with. I mean, so are you doing all sourdough, like sunflower oven?
At the bakery, yeah, it's all sourdough, which just means that it's all naturally fermented. I have some people who are various versions of gluten-free and things like that. So I found that it really works well. I had just did an event the other night for the Yaknapatawpha Arts Council called the Snack Down. And I had a couple people come to me and they were like, "Oh, I'm gluten-free." And I was like, "Well, it's sourdough." And they just lit up, which is always what I like to see. I like to work with your gut, even though it may have a lot more sugar and chocolate and the other good things.
Well, tell us a little bit about your engagement with the Southern Foodways Alliance and the projects that you've done around that.
Yeah, Malcolm and I are longtime Southern Foodways, early days, mini symposia.
Yeah, I first got involved with the SFA in 2011. I got an email from one of my mentors in the music department. I was still a student at the time. And it just said, these people contacted me and they're looking for somebody to compose a collard green opera. And I thought of you. Which I didn't make any sense to me. But of course, I was 20 years old at the time and definitely didn't have anything better to do. So I said yes, because why not? And I wrote Leaves of Greens, which most people know as the collard green opera, and just had the best time, fell in love with John T. and Melissa and everybody at the SFA, and then all the people that I got to meet. We did it at the Atlanta Opera, at the Atlanta Food and Wine Festival that next year. And then I've done another project with them a few years later. It was called Let Us Now Praise Famous Cooks. But I wrote a bunch of songs based on Ernest Matthew Michler and his cookbook, White Trash Cooking.
Right.
Yeah, so I adore the SFA. They've been wonderful friends to me throughout all these years.
You've also collaborated with another great friend of ours, Bruce Livingston, for the bicentennial, the Mississippi Bicentennial.
Yeah, Bruce and I have done several projects together. I first met him actually through the SFA when he came and did some projects, and John T., matchmaker that he is, was like, you two should get together. So I wrote a piece for Bruce called Sacred Spaces that he premiered at the opening of the Civil Rights Museum down there in Jackson, which was an incredible experience, and that he then premiered at Carnegie Hall. Then that was on his album Citizen, and then since then I've written a couple other pieces for him. One on his latest album, Songs Without Words, is the centerpiece of that album is a new set of songs without words that I wrote for him, along with some guy named Felix Mendelssohn.
Oh, yeah. I heard him.
Felix.
Yeah. So do you listen to music while you're baking?
I actually do not. I am a podcast listener at heart. I listen to music. For me, it takes a lot of my frontal mental energy to listen to music. It activates, and I can't concentrate on what I'm doing. It's a really primary activity if that's what I'm doing. So I save that for when I don't have to multitask. All of a sudden timers are going off and I don't realize it. So I listen to podcasts like the podcast from MPB and things like that while I'm baking. Those are people like y'all are my friends in the kitchen.
That's wonderful to hear.
Hey, tell us about your musical influences. Growing up in Booneville, Mississippi, most people would think that one would not be exposed to classical music or serious music studies. How did you come to music out of Booneville?
Yeah, there's just not a lot of classical music in Booneville, and so my musical influences, and still my primary musical influences, were the music that I did find in Booneville, which was in my church. My granddaddy, Charles Walden, led the singing at our church, and my mom played the piano for our church. So my first musical love was the old hymns out of those old hymn books. I've got a big collection back here of all the ones that I can find. I still write a lot of music based on those hymns. And then, of course, my granddaddy, Charles, if you knew him, loved music. And so he taught me about music, everything from Beethoven to the Beach Boys when I was a little kid. So that's where I got my love of the totality of music and all there was to learn.
Wow. Man, oh man. What class did you graduate from Boonville High School?
I was the class of 2009.
2009.
Our largest class ever at, I think it was 104 people or something like that.
Wow.
Did you do any of the band stuff in Boonville?
Yes, I did. I was the drum major for the Boonville Blue Devil Marching Band my junior and senior years.
Fantastic. Well, yeah,
That's
the
great.
Boonville Band is legendary, but our good friend Tim Pierce from Memphis, who is
Yes.
he is one of our favorite cooks and just favorite human beings. And I know that he is still very involved with the Boonville Band.
Oh, yes. Tim is a friend of mine as well. I'm such a fan of his. When I was right in college, when I was a student still, I composed a few shows for the marching band, and so I got to work with Tim doing those, and he's such a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
And
Well, the food world
there's
and
full
music
of them in
world.
Boonville.
Yeah, food and music worlds just knit perfectly together. Lots of creativity.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Well, we have got to jump, but Cecil Price Walden, we are grateful for you, and we're glad to finally make your acquaintance and get you on the show. And we will have you back. Maybe a show with Tim and Cecil Price might be.
Yeah, we'll have a Boonville Spectacular one day.
Of course we will. Well, Carol's honorary Boonvillian.
Yes,
but,
yes. Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
My man is a Corinthian from Corinth,
right.
so close by. Enough to have
Slugburger territory, that's
yes.
what I call it.
Tell our listeners how they can find you and interact with you and maybe buy your bread and listen to your music.
Yeah, absolutely. So for all things music, you can go to pricewalden.com. And then for all things Grapevine, you can go to grapevinebreadco.com or Price Walden or Grapevine Bread Co. on any social media. And there you can find out how to order, find out how to get in contact with me.
Beautiful. Well, thanks again for joining us this morning. Are we taking a break, Marissa? It's up to me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just segue right into our next guest.
Bye, Price.
Price, thank you so much. Great to finally connect to you. Chef Joe
Hi, y'all.
Cravens.
Thank you.
Hi, man. Chef Joe Cravens is with us from Walker's Drive-In, and man, we've been chasing after you. I know you've been busy here lately.
Yes, sir. We have. We've been very busy. Yeah, it's been wild, to be honest.
And you've now owned Walker's for how long?
Actually, today is our 1 month of being open.
All right. Well, happy anniversary.
Thank
happy
you.
1
And no
month.
wonder we've had to chase you down.
Yes, ma'am.
But
that's right.
we wanted to, get you in here early just to let all the fans all over the state of Mississippi
Yes, ma'am.
know about the change and know what you're doing. And so tell us, how did this happen?
I'm sure y'all know Chaz Lindsay. I know he's been on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love Chaz. But no, it's really wild. I was driving home one day, and Derek Emerson had called me the night before, didn't have much to say, and Chaz called me the next morning and was like, man, I ate at Sacred Ground yesterday. And I'm like, oh, man, Derek called me yesterday. I need to call him back. We didn't say much. And he was like, oh, you need to go out to Sacred Ground. You need to speak to him. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, he's thinking about selling Walkers. And I was like, oh. And he was like, I know you have kids. They're young, but you need to consider this. And I walked in my house and I looked at my wife and I said, what do you think? And she said, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
So I said, you're right. And once I had heard Grace, I was like, let's go.
That's
And
correct.
we jumped on it.
I was thinking about Walker's this morning and what history I know. So Mr. Walker ran a drive-in, and they had a little booth where car hops could come in and out of Walker's. You would come in, they'd come to your car, old style.
Yep.
You'd order a beer or a hamburger and onion rings or whatever, and they would bring it out to your car.
Yep.
And after Mr. Walker, he sold it to a Greek fella. I'm trying to think of his name. It's not coming to me. And he ran it for a little while, and then Joey Mitchell and I bought it from him. And we owned it, and then we're the ones who transitioned to white tablecloth fine dining with Charlie and Ann Heineman.
Yep.
So you're 70s.
I'm 74.
70s in there.
Yeah, no. Early 80s.
Early 80s.
Early 80s. Then Charlie and Ann bought it from us. They ran it for many years, and then they sold it to a guy from the Delta who I cannot recall his name either. And then Derek bought it.
Yep.
So really, there's only been 5 or 6 owners
Yep.
of that place, and now she's all yours.
Yeah, it's wild, and I love Ann Heineman. You know, I can remember doing a catering at a house, and we had lost a piece of silver. It was a spoon or a fork, and we went through about 8 bags of trash, and we ended up making it a game. We were like, whoever finds it first, you know. But no, she's amazing. Derek and Jennifer, they did absolutely amazing. It's really, I don't know, it means the world to be able to take over such an institution.
Yeah, it is a beloved
It is.
institution in the state of Mississippi.
Yep. My wife spent her first 8 birthdays at Walker's, you know, and that, I think so many people, I've always said, everybody remembers their first time at Walker's and the last thing that they ate there, because it's, you know, it does that to you.
Yeah.
It's such an institution.
And I think part of the charm is that it hasn't changed. I mean, everybody who's improved, well, Derek greatly improved it, you know,
sure.
the kitchen and the space and the bathrooms and everything else. But you have the feeling that nothing has ever changed.
Yeah.
That it's just the same as it was 40 or 50 years ago.
That's right.
And I'm hoping that those on YouTube can see your hat, because the old Walker's Drive-In logo
Oh, yeah.
is
Wonderful.
wonderful.
We've kind of, you know, spruced up the colors a little bit. They're a little bit neon, but you know, that's Walker's. When you're driving down North State Street, you see that neon sign, and to me, it's iconic. So we kind of went with the neon colors.
And dropped my logo, the Picayune Creole
so,
weather prophet that,
Yeah.
that I had installed way back when. But
Yes,
that's
sir.
okay.
So how did you start cooking?
Actually, you know, just like everybody's story, I started as a busboy. Used to time myself cleaning tables, and next thing I knew, I fell in love with it. I've done just about everything. I've worked in small Italian markets in Memphis, to rolling out donuts at 1 a.m. in a Shipley's, to, you know, I jumped on board with Vishwesh Bhatt over at Snack Bar, who is absolutely fantastic. He opened my eyes to like fine dining and, you know, certain cuts when it comes to like a Brenois or Julienne, or he taught me all of that stuff. And then y'all were just talking about SFA. So I did SFA in Oxford 1 year for him, and I met Steven Satterfield out of Atlanta, Miller Union, jumped on board with him, and I worked. That's where I learned a ton, but I really, you know, I learned so much there that it was unbearing, to be honest. It was like, you know, I was doing all the prep at one point to working the line at night. I mean, it was a lot. And hours in Atlanta, they don't stop feeding people until like 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different beast, you know. You don't get home until 2 a.m. And then my wife and I, she was far from her family, and I walked in one night, and I could tell she was ready to get closer to her family. And we moved back to Jackson, and my wife and her mom took me to lunch at Walker's, and I said, I've got to work here. And I worked there for 5 years. I started at Parlor Market. Derek kind of opened all the doors for me. He gave me my first executive chef position after Chaz at Parlor Market, and then COVID hit, and I jumped over to Walker's because downtown just, you know, everybody was working from home.
Right.
There just wasn't anything going on. And once I did that, I fell in love with Walker's. I learned it like the back of my hand. Mike Greenhill taught me so much, so much. And he helped us so much at the opening of this. You know, I'm over the moon about Mike. But then I looked at my wife. We wanted to have kids, and the restaurant industry isn't, exactly the greatest place. If you want to have kids, you've got to dedicate yourself, and it's hard when you're in the restaurant industry. So I got out for about 3 years, and I sold food and got to work with some incredible chefs doing that. And then Walker's...
You mean being like a wholesale purveyor?
Yes, ma'am. I worked for U.S. Foods.
Okay.
So I was selling foods. I mean, I worked with Phil Jr. at Stamps. He's fantastic. I sold Chaz Lindsay off his food.
At Plato.
Yeah, and then I worked with Jack Hoffman over at Tico's. I mean, I got to work with Mary Lindsay. I mean, Johnny Crow and Yazoo. I could go on all day and name them. I apologize if I miss you, but y'all know I love you. But with that being said, when this came up, it was a godsend. I was just, I knew it was time to get back into it, and my kids had gotten a little bit older. So what are you
keeping the same, and is anything?
Everything at Walker's is so foolproof. We've just kept everything the same. The morning time we've changed up a little bit. We wanted, to kind of make our mark with some lunchtime items, So the blue plates have changed a little bit. Some of the vegetables have changed a little bit. But for the most part,
did we hear they've brought spaghetti?
Spaghetti is back with catfish on Friday.
Yes, sir.
But it's a meatless spaghetti sauce.
So we're, every day we're kind of changing something. So
that's fine. That's the nature of the beast, my
friend.
For
sure. I ran after a woman the other day, asked her how the fried chicken was, and the next Tuesday I tweaked it a little bit and changed it a little bit. So we're doing that a lot right now.
Until you brine it in tea?
I do.
Okay,
we brine it in
so.
Sweet tea, which was big when I was at Parlor Market. Right. It tenderizes the heck out of the...
It's a John Fleer thing.
It is so good. And you get, you don't get a sweet flavor. Everybody's picturing that you're going to get a sweet. You get a real refined. There's a bunch of garlic in there. There's a bunch of thyme. So it just... When you bite into it, it's just the juiciest piece of fried chicken you've ever had.
What day do you do fried chicken?
Tomorrow, so Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Very good. I try to schedule my week around the fried chicken blue plates.
Yes,
CS's is on Wednesday. Let's see. Mayflower is Thursday, I think.
For sure.
Hal and Mal's moves around. I can't ever really tell. But if you're smart and you live in Jackson, you can have fried chicken every day for lunch. If you play your cards
Primo's
right.
has a pretty fun one, too.
Primo's has a
love
very...
Primo's fried chicken.
So where'd you grow up, Joe?
I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, in Memphis. That's good. That's cool. And you went to Memphis schools?
Yep. I went to Christian Brothers.
Yep.
And before that, I went to St. Louis Catholic School. I walked to school every day because it was right across the street. So I loved Memphis. I got out of Memphis when I was about 18. And, I had one goal, and that was work for the greatest chefs I could. And I found the three that I loved. They showed me a lot, and that was kind of my goal.
Do you have a favorite barbecue in Memphis? Memphis is a gigantic barbecue center. I was just wondering if you have a favorite. I have several, of course.
Charlie Vergos and Nick Vergos. I knew Nick Vergos growing up, and I loved Rendezvous.
The Rendezvous,
yeah. I do.
I like the Cozy Corner.
Yeah, I'm Cozy Corner.
A lot.
Yeah.
But I was just up there a week or so ago and hit the Cozy Corner up. Had the ribs and the chicken. And then I had a sandwich at Coleman's on my way back to Jackson in Senatobia. But anyway, I love the Q. Do you like barbecue? Do you like to cook it?
I do. I love barbecue. When I text Derek, I'm like, when are we going to mess around? He's like, when you start doing barbecue, we can start talking. I'm like, I don't have the skill set for barbecue because it's low and slow. And, I'm all, go. When you're
saute man.
Yeah, exactly.
Grill.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it on, get it off.
I'm like, I don't know if that day will ever come, but I get what he's doing. And I do. I've got a Traeger at home. I love barbecue.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Derek taught himself how to cook barbecue.
Which
he
is
said he didn't know
impressive.
the first thing about it when he started.
Exactly.
And he made his own pits.
Yeah.
He taught himself. He threw away a lot of briskets. He threw away a lot of pork ribs to learn. And lo and behold, if you go to sacred ground, there you have it. He has taught himself well.
Yeah.
Well, Carol, we got to take a short break and come right back. Joe, if you can stay with us, you're invited to stay with us. We'll have another guest joining us, John DePriest, who is a professor at Tulane out of New Orleans. Wrote a piece that got my attention called Choctaw Gumbo. He's going to zoom in with us, but hang around. We'd love to have you. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back with more MPB Think Radio's Deep South Dining.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
All right, let's get back to it. This is Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio. And all the way from New Orleans, we have Dr. John DePriest, instructor in the English for Academic and Professional Purposes program through the Center for Global Education at Tulane University, a native of Possum Town, which is Columbus, Mississippi, and a musician in a band called Bogachita, I believe. Welcome to the show, Dr. John.
Halito, thank y'all for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. You know, part of the thing I love about this show is chasing people down. And, I chased you down, and then Marissa jumped in there and made the hookup. But it was a piece that you wrote called Choctaw Gumbo that really got my attention. I wonder if you could share for the cliff notes for our listeners on Choctaw Gumbo.
Yeah, sure thing. So it started because when I would read about gumbo, whenever I would do research on the history of gumbo, people would say, oh, this is a Choctaw word, or it might be a Choctaw word from combo, meaning sassafras. And I've spent a lot of time studying the Choctaw language, and I knew that the word for sassafras in Choctaw was cuffy and not combo. And to me, it sounded like that was a kind of confusing etymology, and I wanted to track down where that came from because I was pretty sure the word didn't come from Choctaw originally. And so what I ended up finding is that it comes from a number of West African languages, or Central African languages, really, in the Congo region, particularly Kikongo, Chiloba, and a few others that are really closely related.
Wow. And then there's the African-American word for okra that people talk about how gumbo got its name. What's your theory on that?
So my theory on that is actually that The word comes through the Caribbean, and particularly Saint-Domingue or Haiti, what's now known as Haiti. And after the Haitian Revolution, a lot of people moved up to Louisiana in particular, and it was the French speakers and the people of African descent in the Caribbean who brought that word with them, the word Gumbo for okra, because that word isn't documented in Louisiana in the 1700s. It's really not documented until after the Haitian Revolution. And most of the people who use it are Francophone, so who speak French.
Wow. So Chef Joe is with us, Joe Cravens from Walker's Drive-In here in Jackson. Joe, are you a gumbo guy?
Yeah, actually I am. My father-in-law makes some absolutely fantastic gumbo. He puts everything in the ocean in his gumbo. I mean, you might have it one time and it has this, and then you have it the next time and it's got oyster. It's just, I love it.
Yeah, you got to keep it. For me, all recipes are fluid, and the base is the base, but the solos, whether they're oysters or whatever they might be, and then there's okra versus filet for thickeners. And some people use both, Carol.
Right. Well, I'm an okra person.
All hell the okra.
All hell the great okra. But John, I wanted to ask you, your bio says that you are an enrolled member of the Choctaw Nation. What does that mean?
It means that our family are members of the Choctaw Nation is basically what that means. And that we have been for generations and generations, since time immemorial, basically. But that also means that our ancestors lived in Mississippi before removal to Oklahoma. So the connections to this place run pretty deep.
Where in Mississippi do you think your people were? I mean, because the Choctaws were sort of South Mississippi and the Chickasaws were sort of North Mississippi.
That's right. Boonville was probably a Chickasaw settlement at one point.
Indeed it was.
So my family were from the Jackson area, an area called Funagusha Creek, so a little bit northeast of Jackson.
Oh, okay. So you have roots in Jackson that are extremely deep.
That's right. Yeah.
So how long have you been in New Orleans?
I've been here about 16 years. Mm-hmm. I went to college in Nashville, and as you mentioned at the top, I'm a musician. I play banjo and guitar, which was appropriate for Nashville, but I wanted to do something a little different too. So when I graduated, I came down to the Mississippi coast and started working at a brewery, actually, called Lazy Magnolia.
Oh, yeah.
In Kiln.
And the Kiln.
In the Kiln.
The
That's
airport.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you make beer?
About 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to go back to school to study language and music and how language and music kind of interact with each other. So those are my main interests, is language and music. Anytime I can connect food and plants, that's an added bonus.
Yeah, I really loved reading this article, and I had just never thought about it before, about Choctaw women selling gumbo in New Orleans.
Yeah, at the marketplace.
That's right. What they call the French market today, but was originally a Homa market from Homa people who would set up there and sell different kinds of goods and things like that. But something that I think is really important to keep in mind, y'all were talking about being okra fans in your gumbo, and of course they're not mutually exclusive, but a lot of the filet that is commercially available is not great. It doesn't add a lot of flavor. It is not great as a thickener. So I think most people have kind of shied away from it because what is usually available in the stores is just not very good. So if you can find some fresh filet, especially from someone who's kind of a traditional filet processor, or harvest your own and grind it up yourself, it is a remarkable addition. It's a remarkable ingredient. It has this flavor like coriander and lemongrass. It has a huge depth of flavor that the store-bought kind just totally lacks.
Do you have a suggestion about where to find this product in its better form?
There aren't really a whole lot of commercially available retailers. I personally get mine from a guy in Bayou Lacombe on the North Shore.
Yeah.
He sells at markets around there, but there are also people around the Kisatchie National Forest, including Dusty Fuqua, and some other folks who make it in a very traditional way. Another important aspect to making filet is that you have to dry it in the dark, because if it dries in the sunshine, that takes all of the flavors out.
Wow.
So you're actually drying the sassafras leaves in the dark.
That's right. You dry the sassafras leaves in the dark, then you grind them up, and they have this great flavor, and they also have this kind of amazing thickening quality where you'll put a spoon into the gumbo and you can actually like stretch it out. Which is what the word gumbo originally meant in these Central African languages. It meant like a thick, gluey kind of stew, very kind of viscous.
Wow. Do any of the markets sell sassafras leaves in Louisiana? I know in your article it talked about the Choctaw women with the baskets of sassafras leaves. I was wondering if that's something in modern life that is sold.
Occasionally you can find it, but it's not something that's usually available at the market. So
I remember sassafras root going with my grandmother to farmers markets, and you could buy little bundles of sassafras roots
for
to
tea.
make sassafras tea, which was delicious, but I haven't seen that in years.
That's right, and those are delicious too. I think part of the reason is that there was a study that came out in the 60s about sassafras roots having carcinogens, particularly saffron. But the problem was they just, gave these rats a tremendous amount that no one would ever actually be able to consume, because people have been drinking sassafras root tea forever. It was one of the first exports back to Europe from the Americas. It was the flavor for root beer, including, what inspired Barks down on the coast. So it has deep roots in Mississippi for sure, and that's another flavor that's just remarkable.
Well, we don't have much time left, but tell us a little bit about your band, Bogachita, and the work that you do as a musician.
Sure, gladly. So Bogachita means big river in the Choctaw language, and we live right next to the biggest river around here in New Orleans. And we like to think of that as accounting for the wide variety of influences that we have, from bluegrass and blues, Cajun music, R&B, country, of course. Growing up in Possum Town, Mississippi, that's really the intersection of a lot of the kind of southwestern Appalachian bluegrass and country and the lowland Delta blues. Or really just Mississippi blues, and other kinds of Gulf Coast music. So, I've come to appreciate those musical influences a lot. But we'll be playing in Mississippi a few times in October. We'll be playing at the Keg and Barrel in
Hattiesburg
on October 19th. And then we'll be playing the next day at the South Mississippi Fair in Laurel.
All right.
On the 20th. And I'll actually be playing a solo Songwriters in the Round series at the Mockingbird Cafe in Hattiesburg on October the 2nd.
Well, tell us really quickly where people can find you on the internet.
So I'm at Possum Town John on Instagram. That's Possum without an O on the front, just Possum, Town John. And you can also find Bogachito there at Bogachito Band. That's BogeueChitto Band, Bogachito Band.
All right. Thank you so much, my friend. And we'll have you back and we'll dig deeper. This has been very insightful stuff. We're grateful to each and every one of our guests today. Our show is produced by Marissa Vaughn. For our guests, Cecil Price Walden, Joe Cravens, the chef, Dr. John DePriest. For my co-host, Carol Palmer, I am Malcolm White. We ask that you now stay tuned for Everyday Tech at 10. Southern Remedy follows at 11, and we'll see you next Monday and Sunday morning.
This forecast is underwritten by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi and the MyBlue mobile app for people on the go. More at bcbsms.com.
We will see a chance of showers and thunderstorms across central and southern Mississippi today. There is the potential for some very hot